Let's be honest. How often do you feel like you're constantly pushing against the tide of life, fighting for control, trying to make things happen faster, only to find yourself worn out and frustrated? It's a familiar feeling, right? We're taught to hustle, to never stop moving, to grab every opportunity as it comes. But what if the key to living your best life isn't in fighting harder, but in letting go and trusting the flow? What if the greatest power you could have was in not forcing anything? What if everything you desire is already within your grasp, waiting for the right moment to unfold? In today's episode, we'll dive deep into a principle that might seem counterintuitive in this fast-paced world: the art of effortless living. We'll explore how the wisdom of Wu Wei, Stoicism, and modern science aligns to show us how to flow with life instead of battling against it. The answers you've been looking for may not be out there. They're already within you, waiting to emerge when you stop forcing them. So, get ready to learn how to manifest your desires, embrace spontaneity, and live in a way that feels effortless, yet deeply fulfilling. 1. Wu Wei. Flow with life instead of fighting it. How many times have you found yourself stuck in the struggle, pushing relentlessly, trying to control every aspect of your life? You chase after goals, try to bend situations to your will, and somehow, the harder you push, the more life seems to slip through your fingers. It's like fighting against a river, trying to force your way upstream. But what if the key to peace and success wasn't in the fight at all? What if, instead of resistance, the real power lies in flowing with life? This is the core of the concept of Wu Wei, an ancient Taoist principle that translates to effortless action or non-action. At first glance, it might sound like doing nothing, but that's not what it means. Wu Wei teaches us that we should move in harmony with the natural flow of life rather than pushing against it. It's not about inaction, it's about acting with the current, allowing things to unfold without forcing them. This is where Stoicism and Taoism meet in surprising alignment. The Stoic philosophers, like Marcus Aurelius, emphasized accepting the things we cannot control and focusing our energy on what we can influence. In life, we encounter obstacles, whether it's in our relationships, work, or health, that feel like forces we must fight against. But just as a river flows effortlessly around rocks, life too moves in its own natural rhythm. The struggle, the frustration, the effort to control, these are often what hold us back from achieving what we truly desire. Think of it this way. When a river comes to a large boulder, it doesn't fight it. It doesn't try to move the stone out of its path. Instead, the water flows around it, smoothly and effortlessly. It accepts the obstacle and moves forward, adjusting its course as necessary. This is the essence of Wu Wei, and also the essence of Stoic wisdom. Life presents obstacles and challenges we cannot control, but how we choose to respond, that's where our true power lies. So, how can you apply Wu Wei in your daily life? Start by noticing when you're pushing too hard. When you feel the weight of resistance, whether in your job, your relationships, or your personal goals, take a step back. Ask yourself, am I forcing this? Sometimes the most powerful action is to pause, breathe, and allow the situation to unfold naturally. You don't need to control every detail or rush every decision. Trust that when you align with the natural flow of life, things will fall into place with much less effort. Imagine today, instead of forcing, you simply let things flow. You trust that life will move in the right direction as long as you allow it to. Instead of struggling, you learn to ride the current, and the results will surprise you. 2. Act only when the moment is right. How many times have you found yourself rushing into a decision because you thought it had to be made right now? That sense of urgency, the feeling that if you don't act immediately, you'll miss out or lose your chance. In a world that constantly demands action, it's easy to believe that every moment requires a response. But here's the truth. Sometimes the most powerful action is to do nothing at all until the moment is right. The ancient Stoics, like Marcus Aurelius and Epictetus, understood that timing is everything. They didn't act hastily or impulsively. Instead, they practiced patience, knowing that acting prematurely or out of fear could lead to regret and unnecessary struggle. The Stoic ideal was to act only when the moment was aligned with virtue, necessity, and wisdom, not when pressured by the demands of the world or our own anxious minds. Think of a chess player carefully considering each move. They don't make decisions impulsively. They study the board, consider the potential outcomes, and only act when the time is right. The same principle applies in life. When we're caught up in the rush, we often make decisions without fully understanding the consequences. But when we take the time to wait, to think, and to act from a place of clarity, our choices are more deliberate, more thoughtful, and ultimately more effective. In your own life, how often do you feel compelled to make decisions quickly? Whether it's in your career, relationships, or personal projects, there's a tendency to rush forward, believing that if you don't act now, you'll fall behind. But when you move too fast, you risk missing the subtle signs, the small moments of clarity that come only when you're patient enough to wait. So, how can you practice this art of waiting for the right moment? First, learn to recognize when you're feeling rushed or pressured to act. Pause. Take a breath. Ask yourself, is this the right time to make a decision? If it is, you'll know it. If not, give yourself permission to wait. It's not about procrastinating, it's about acting from a place of wisdom and awareness rather than impulse or anxiety. Imagine today, instead of rushing through decisions, you allowed yourself the space to wait for the right moment. You trusted that the world would unfold as it's meant to, and you moved only when you felt aligned with the timing and purpose of the situation. You might find that by waiting, your decisions are not only more effective, but also more fulfilling. 3. Control is an illusion. Let go and trust the process. How often do you feel the need to control every aspect of your life? We plan, we organize, and we try to manage everything: our work, our relationships, even the tiniest details of our daily routine. It feels like we're steering the ship, trying to keep everything on course. But have you ever stopped to think, what if control is just an illusion? The Stoics believed that much of our suffering comes from the illusion of control. We often believe that if we just push hard enough, we can shape the world around us exactly as we want it. But life doesn't work like that. The universe moves in its own rhythm, and while we can influence certain things, we can't control them all. The things that happen to us, the people we interact with, the challenges that arise, these are often beyond our influence. The only thing we can truly control is how we respond to them. Think about it. When you try to control everything, you become consumed by stress. The more you grip tightly, the more you realize you're actually fighting against life itself. It's like trying to hold on to sand. It slips through your fingers, no matter how tightly you squeeze. In contrast, when you let go of the need to control, you free yourself from the constant tension that accompanies it. You give yourself the space to breathe, to act with clarity, and to trust that life will unfold as it should. Marcus Aurelius, one of the greatest Stoic philosophers, constantly reminded himself to focus only on what he could control. his actions, his thoughts, his responses. Everything else he learned to accept as part of the natural flow. He didn't waste energy trying to control the uncontrollable. Instead, he trusted in the process, knowing that by doing his best, he could trust that the universe would take care of the rest. So, how can you apply this lesson to your own life? Start by noticing where you're trying to control things that are out of your reach. Whether it's the behavior of others, the outcome of a situation, or even the flow of time itself, ask yourself, what can I control here? Once you identify what's in your power, focus on that and let go of everything else. Trust that by doing your part, the rest will fall into place. Imagine today, instead of holding tightly to the reins, you let go and allowed life to unfold naturally. You trusted the process, knowing that not everything is meant to be controlled. When you stop fighting against what you cannot change, you'll find that things often work out even better than you expected. 4. Spontaneity over struggle. True art is effortless. How many times have you found yourself stuck in the struggle, trying to force something into existence? We push ourselves to be perfect, to plan every move, and to control every detail. The idea of effortless living can seem almost foreign when we're so conditioned to believe that hard work means struggle. But what if I told you that the most beautiful and fulfilling moments in life happen when we let go of the struggle and embrace spontaneity? The Stoics believed in living with purpose and discipline, but they also understood the importance of flowing with life. They knew that when you resist the natural flow, you invite frustration and burnout. True art, whether in our work, our relationships, or our personal growth, isn't born from constant struggle. It's born from allowing things to unfold without force, from acting in harmony with the rhythm of life, instead of constantly trying to impose our will upon it. Think of the great artists, musicians, and creators throughout history. The ones who achieved true greatness didn't obsess over perfection. They surrendered to the process, allowing their creativity to flow naturally. Take a look at the work of Picasso, for example. His later pieces, often seen as abstract and spontaneous, were the product of years of honing his craft and then letting go of the need for control. They were not the result of struggle, but of deep trust in his own instincts, in the freedom of expression. In our own lives, the pressure to constantly be productive or perfect can stifle creativity and joy. We think we need to push harder, try more, and exhaust ourselves to get the results we want. But in doing so, we miss out on the beauty that comes from spontaneity, the magic that happens when we allow ourselves to be free, to act without overthinking, and to trust the moment. So how do we begin to embrace spontaneity over struggle? First, notice when you're trying too hard. Whether it's at work, in your personal life, or in a creative project, ask yourself, am I forcing this? Instead of pushing through the tension, try stepping back. Let go of the need to control every outcome. Embrace the idea that the best results often come when we least expect them, when we trust our instincts and allow the process to unfold organically. Imagine today, instead of struggling to make things happen, you allowed yourself to act from a place of ease. You trusted that the best way to create, connect, and grow is not by forcing things into place, but by allowing them to come to you naturally. You might find that by surrendering to the flow, you not only experience greater joy, but achieve better results in the process. 5. Embrace space and emptiness as part of existence. Have you ever felt like life is constantly demanding more from you, more tasks, more responsibilities, more things to achieve? In the rush to fill every moment, we often forget that there's incredible power in space and emptiness. In a world obsessed with productivity and constant movement, the idea of doing nothing or being still can seem almost uncomfortable. But what if I told you that true peace and clarity come from embracing those empty moments? The Stoics understood that in order to live a balanced life, one must leave room for stillness. They didn't see emptiness as something to fear, but as a necessary part of existence. Just like nature, where silence and stillness allow space for new growth and understanding, our minds and hearts need moments of emptiness to regenerate, reflect, and realign with our deeper purpose. Think about the natural world. A tree doesn't grow by constantly producing leaves and branches. It needs rest, stillness, and the empty space between the leaves to absorb the energy it needs to grow stronger. Similarly, in our own lives, we need those spaces of quiet and emptiness to replenish our energy, to gain clarity, and to refocus on what truly matters. In today's society, we are bombarded by endless tasks, notifications, and expectations. It's easy to fall into the trap of thinking that we must always be doing something to be productive, that if we aren't constantly moving, we're falling behind. But this mindset leads to burnout and exhaustion. The key is recognizing the importance of space, both physically and mentally. By creating space in your life, whether it's through moments of silence, breaks during the day, or simply letting go of things that no longer serve you, you allow yourself to reconnect with your inner self. So, how can you begin to embrace space and emptiness in your life? Start by recognizing the moments when you're overwhelmed by busyness. Ask yourself, do I need to fill this space? Sometimes, the most productive thing you can do is nothing at all. Take a few minutes each day to simply sit in silence, to breathe deeply, and to allow your mind to rest. Don't feel the pressure to constantly fill your time with tasks. Let go of the idea that you always need to be moving forward. Imagine today, instead of filling every moment with activity, you allowed yourself space to think, to breathe, and to simply exist. You may find that in those quiet moments, you tap into deeper creativity, clearer thoughts, and a stronger sense of purpose. 6. See the world through a child's eyes. Once again, have you ever noticed how children see the world? Their eyes light up with curiosity, wonder, and excitement over even the simplest things. A flower, a puddle, a cloud in the sky. It's all a source of joy and fascination. As we grow older, we often lose that sense of wonder. We get bogged down by the demands of life, the routines, and the weight of responsibility. But what if I told you that the key to living a richer, more fulfilling life lies in reclaiming that childlike perspective? The Stoics believed in the importance of seeing the world as it truly is, without the filters and biases that adulthood often brings. Marcus Aurelius, in his Meditations, wrote about the need to constantly remind ourselves that the world is full of beauty, learning, and growth, if only we open our eyes to it. Children live in the present moment. They don't dwell on the past or worry about the future. They are fully immersed in whatever they are doing, and every new experience is a chance for discovery. This sense of awe, of being fully present, is something we can all benefit from. As we age, we often start seeing the world through a lens of expectation, judgment, and even cynicism. We get caught in the pressures of adult life, and gradually, the magic of the world around us starts to fade. We stop noticing the little things, the way the sun shines through the trees, the texture of a leaf, the sound of the wind rustling through the grass. We get so wrapped up in our to-do lists, our problems, and our responsibilities that we forget to simply be in the moment. But here's the truth. By shifting our perspective and trying to see the world through the eyes of a child again, we can bring that joy and wonder back into our lives. We begin to notice the beauty that surrounds us, appreciate the small moments, and find joy in the simplest things. This isn't about avoiding the responsibilities of adulthood. It's about allowing the light of curiosity to shine through the cracks of our routine. So, how can you start to see the world with childlike wonder? Begin by slowing down. Take a moment each day to really look around you, whether you're on your way to work, walking through a park, or simply sitting in your home. Notice the details you've overlooked, the texture of a cloud, the sound of a bird singing, the warmth of the sun on your skin. Let go of your adult judgments and expectations and approach the world with open curiosity, as if you were seeing it for the first time. Imagine today, instead of rushing through your day, you allowed yourself to pause and experience the world with the same sense of awe and wonder that a child feels. By doing so, you'll begin to rediscover the beauty in the ordinary and find joy in the moments that make life truly extraordinary. 7. Suspend your beliefs. Experience reality without labels. Have you ever noticed how often we label things in our lives? We categorize everything, from people to experiences, into neat little boxes: good, bad, right, wrong, successful, failure. These labels shape how we experience the world, but what if they're limiting us? What if by simply suspending our beliefs, we could see life as it truly is, without the labels, the judgments, and the assumptions we place on it? The Stoics understood the danger of labels. They believed that many of our troubles arise from the judgments we make about external events. As Epictetus, one of the greatest Stoic philosophers, said, "It's not what happens to you, but how you react to it that matters." When we label something as bad or unfortunate, we immediately close ourselves off to the deeper lessons it might hold. We turn a neutral situation into something we resist, pushing us further from peace. Imagine a moment in your life when something didn't go as planned. Maybe a work project failed, or a relationship didn't turn out as expected. How often do we immediately attach a label to it, such as failure or disappointment? These labels shape our emotions and reactions, sometimes making the situation worse than it actually is. But what if we could look at those situations with fresh eyes, without the label? What if we could see it simply as what is, rather than immediately reacting with judgment? In Stoicism, the practice of suspending judgment is key to finding peace. Instead of rushing to label an experience as good or bad, the Stoics taught us to simply observe it. When we do this, we remove the emotional charge that comes with labeling. We create space to respond thoughtfully rather than react impulsively. So how can you start to suspend your beliefs and experience reality without labels? Begin by recognizing when you're about to place a label on something. Instead of saying, "This is terrible," or "This is a failure," try to see it for what it is: an event, a moment, a part of life's unfolding. Ask yourself, what's actually happening here? Detach the labels and simply observe. Over time, this practice will help you respond with clarity rather than react with emotion. Imagine today, instead of labeling every situation, you allowed yourself to simply experience it. By suspending your beliefs and seeing things without judgment, you might find that the challenges in your life no longer have the same hold over you. You'll approach life with a sense of openness, curiosity, and peace, free from the burden of judgment. 8. Listen to life instead of overthinking it. How often do you find yourself trapped in a whirlwind of thoughts, trying to figure out the best course of action, analyzing every possible outcome and second-guessing every decision. We live in a world that values thinking, strategizing, planning, and constantly analyzing. But sometimes, the more we think, the more we confuse ourselves. What if, instead of overthinking, we simply listen to life as it unfolds? What if the answers are already there, waiting for us to hear them? The Stoics were masters of simplicity. They didn't get bogged down by excessive mental chatter or overcomplicated thoughts. Instead, they focused on being present, observing the world around them, and responding to what was in front of them. Marcus Aurelius, for instance, often wrote about the importance of living in harmony with nature and focusing on the moment. The Stoic practice wasn't about constantly planning or overthinking. It was about being fully attuned to the present and acting accordingly. Imagine you're in the middle of a conversation. How often do you find yourself not really listening to the other person, but instead preparing your response while they're speaking? This is overthinking in action. We're so focused on what we'll say next or how we'll be perceived that we forget to truly listen. In life, this same pattern happens constantly. We overthink our decisions, our relationships, our actions, all while missing the clarity that's already available in the present moment. In contrast, when we truly listen to others, to ourselves, and to the world around us, we tap into a wisdom that doesn't require constant mental noise. Life speaks in whispers, in subtle cues, and in the stillness of the moment. By quieting our minds and listening, we give ourselves the space to hear what life is truly trying to tell us. So, how can you start listening to life instead of overthinking it? Begin by slowing down. The next time you're faced with a decision, instead of rushing into thought after thought, take a pause. Breathe. Let the answers come naturally without forcing them. Trust that your intuition, your senses, and the moment itself will guide you. When you stop overthinking, you create space for clarity to emerge. Imagine today, instead of overthinking every move you make, you simply listened to life as it is. You observe without judgment, act without hesitation, and let go of the need to have everything figured out. You might find that by doing less mental work, life becomes clearer, and the answers you seek are more obvious than you ever thought possible. 9. Embrace change. Nothing stays the same forever. Have you ever found yourself resisting change, clinging to the familiar, the comfortable, even when you know it's no longer serving you? Change can feel like a threat, an unknown force that shakes up our routines and challenges our sense of stability. But what if I told you that change isn't something to fear, but something to embrace? After all, nothing in life stays the same forever, and in this constant flux, there lies incredible opportunity. The Stoics, in their wisdom, knew that change is one of the few constants in life. Marcus Aurelius often wrote about the impermanence of all things and the need to accept change as part of nature's design. As he wisely said, "Everything we hear is an opinion, not a fact. Everything we see is a perspective, not the truth." In other words, nothing is fixed. The world around us, our circumstances, and even our emotions are in a constant state of flux. The Stoics believed that the key to living well wasn't in resisting change, but in learning how to adapt to it. Think about nature. A tree doesn't resist the changing seasons, it simply adjusts. In spring, it buds and grows. In winter, it sheds its leaves and conserves its energy. The tree doesn't mourn the passing of the leaves or fight against the arrival of winter. It accepts that change is inevitable and embraces it as part of the cycle of life. This is the mindset we can adopt as well. understanding that change isn't something to resist, but something to flow with. In our own lives, we often try to hold on to things, whether it's a job, a relationship, or a lifestyle, that are no longer aligned with who we are becoming. We fear the discomfort of change and the uncertainty it brings. But here's the reality. Every moment of change offers a chance for growth, for new beginnings, for a fresh start. Without change, we stay stagnant. It's through change that we evolve, adapt, and become who we are meant to be. So how can you embrace change instead of fearing it? First, start by recognizing the areas of your life where you're resisting change. Are you holding on to a job you no longer enjoy? A relationship that no longer brings you joy? A habit that's holding you back? Ask yourself, what would happen if I embraced this change? Instead of fighting it, try leaning into it. Change doesn't have to be scary. It can be the catalyst for a new and better version of yourself. Imagine today, instead of resisting change, you welcomed it with open arms. You saw each change as an opportunity for growth, a chance to evolve into something better. When you stop fearing change, you unlock the power to transform your life in ways you never thought possible. 10. Follow your instincts. Your body and mind already understand more than you think. How many times have you doubted yourself? How often have you second-guessed your decisions, ignored your gut feelings, or let overthinking cloud your judgment? In a world that constantly tells us to seek external advice, to rely on logic and reason, we often forget one of the most powerful tools we have, our own instincts. What if I told you that your body and mind already know more than you think, and that trusting your instincts could be the key to living a more aligned, fulfilling life? The Stoics understood the value of self-awareness and intuition. While they emphasized reason, they also acknowledged the importance of aligning with our inner nature. They didn't see logic and instinct as opposing forces. Instead, they believed that when we lived in harmony with our true selves, reason and instinct could work together seamlessly. Marcus Aurelius often spoke about the importance of tuning into the natural flow of life and trusting our inner compass to guide us through challenges. Think about the times when you followed your instincts and things just seemed to click. Maybe it was a career decision, a relationship choice, or a small moment of personal insight. In those moments, you weren't overthinking. You simply acted based on what felt right in your body and mind. That's the power of your instincts. The wisdom that's already embedded in you, shaped by years of experience, observation, and inner knowing. In contrast, when we overthink, we often get tangled in analysis, losing sight of what truly matters. We start to question ourselves, seek validation from others, and allow fear or doubt to drive our decisions. This only creates confusion and inner conflict. But when we listen to our body and mind, when we trust that inner voice, we move with more clarity and confidence. So, how can you start trusting your instincts more? Begin by paying attention to how your body reacts to situations. When faced with a decision, notice the subtle cues your body gives you. Your heartbeat, the tension in your shoulders, the calmness in your breath. Your body is constantly sending you signals about what feels right and what doesn't. Alongside this, tap into your mind. Think back to moments when you made decisions that turned out to be the right ones. What was your inner voice telling you then? Imagine today, instead of overthinking every decision, you allowed yourself to trust your instincts. You didn't need to second guess or seek approval from others. You simply listened to that quiet, steady voice inside of you that already knows what's best. When you trust your instincts, you align yourself with your deepest truth and make choices that resonate with your authentic self. 11. Move with ease. Rushing only creates struggle. Have you ever found yourself caught in the rush of life, feeling like you're constantly running against the clock? Whether it's meeting deadlines, trying to check off tasks, or simply managing the whirlwind of responsibilities, it can feel like there's never enough time. We rush, we push, we exhaust ourselves in the pursuit of progress, thinking that moving faster will get us where we want to go. But what if I told you that the key to true success isn't in rushing, it's in moving with ease? The Stoics were masters of balance, always advocating for deliberate and thoughtful action rather than frenetic, hasty movements. They believed that rushing leads to mistakes, stress, and burnout, whereas moving with ease and purpose allows us to stay grounded and make the best decisions. Marcus Aurelius, in his Meditations, frequently reminded himself to focus on the present moment and move through life with intention, not haste. Think about it. When you rush through tasks, how often do you feel satisfied with the results? Likely you miss details, make errors, or feel overwhelmed by the weight of all that's left to do. In contrast, when you move through life with ease, when you slow down enough to really see the process, you're not only more effective, you're more present. This doesn't mean doing less. It means doing it with more focus and mindfulness. Take a moment to think about how much time in your day is spent in a rush. We often feel like we must be moving quickly to be productive, but all that speed often leads to more stress. You start at one task and rush through it, only to realize you didn't do your best work. You're constantly bouncing from one thing to the next, and by the end of the day, you feel more drained than accomplished. The real key, however, is to move with purpose. Whether it's at work, in your personal life, or with your goals, slowing down and being intentional about how you approach each task can lead to far better results. Think of it like driving a car. When you rush, you risk accidents and damage. But when you drive with care, staying focused on the road ahead, you get to your destination smoothly and safely. The same goes for life. Moving with ease allows you to reach your goals without unnecessary struggle. So, how can you start moving with ease today? First, recognize the times when you're rushing, either due to external pressures or your own internal impatience. Stop. Breathe. Ask yourself, what would happen if I slowed down here? Often, slowing down doesn't mean sacrificing progress. It means ensuring that the progress you make is meaningful and sustainable. Imagine today, instead of rushing from task to task, you took a step back and approached each one with mindfulness. You gave yourself the space to think, act, and move through the day without the pressure of speed. By doing this, you'll find that things fall into place more naturally, and the weight of urgency fades away. As we've explored today, the secret to living a truly fulfilling life isn't in the constant rush, struggle, or the need for control. It's in letting go, embracing the natural flow of life, and trusting that everything unfolds in its own perfect time. The wisdom of Wu Wei, the Stoics, and the power of mindfulness teach us that true peace comes from acceptance, not from forcing or overthinking. Imagine what your life could look like if you stopped pushing against the current and started to flow with it. What if, instead of rushing to check off every task on your list, you moved with purpose and ease, trusting that the right moment would arrive when it was meant to? What if you embraced change, followed your instincts, and allowed life's natural rhythm to guide you toward your dreams? The answers aren't out there in the future, waiting for you to achieve something. They're already here, in the present moment, waiting for you to notice. Life is always moving, always changing, and the key is learning to move with it, not against it. So today, I challenge you to take a step back and reflect on how you can apply these principles to your life. Trust the process, embrace the flow, and let go of the need to control everything. Move with ease, allow spontaneity, and embrace the space around you. Your life isn't a race, it's a journey, and the more you trust it, the more you'll see how effortlessly things begin to unfold. Remember, the path to a more peaceful, fulfilling life isn't about pushing harder. It's about letting go and trusting that you're already where you need to be.